what is happening, people? Today we're gonna learn how to animate a ball on a window. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna need to do is, I've already created my class for the JFrame. If you don't know what a JFrame is, go to the beginning of the playlist when it comes to my game programming series. You'll understand what it does, but it's basically a window that if you want it to appear on the screen. So now I'm gonna right click here, package, class, and then I'm gonna call this moving ball panel. Okay, this is where we're gonna draw our ball. Okay, now I'm gonna let this extend JPanel. This means that it's gonna take all of the attributes that a JPanel has and put it in this class. A JPanel is like a container of a UI element. It's an invisible container, or sometimes you can change the color in order to make it visible. Okay, so now let me create my constructor here. I'm gonna change the background of this panel to black, and then I'm gonna set the preferred size to, let's say maybe 300 by 300. Actually, let me say 350 by 300. Okay, and then now I'm gonna hold Control Shift and I to import the dimension from the odd class. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back to my game window, go to my init UI, and add this moving ball panel. Okay, let me run this to check if I did everything okay. Okay, yeah, I did everything okay. We can see that the panel is black. Let me go back to the moving ball panel. Okay, now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a timer, right? If you don't know what a timer is, just check one of my previous video. You will learn how to use a timer. So I'm gonna say private timer, and then I'm gonna import the timer that belongs to the swing package. I'm going to initialize my timer here in this constructor. Now the first argument is the number of milliseconds that this ball is gonna move. I'm gonna make it 400 milliseconds, and then the next argument we're gonna provide is the action listener, right? This is what the timer is going to call after every 400 milliseconds. So in this case, our action listener, we're gonna make it our current class. So now, as you can see, it's giving me an error here because I didn't let my class implement the action listener. So let me just do that quickly. Okay, now I've made my class implement the action listener. Now there's one thing that's left for me to do. We can see it's showing me an error. I need to implement the action performed method. So in order to do this quickly, I'm going to put my cursor here and then hold Alt, press enter, and then I'm gonna click implement all abstract methods. Okay, now I'm going to remove this for now. Okay, now we have initialized our timer, but let us do one more thing, which is drawing the ball, right? So now I'm gonna create some private variables here. We're gonna have ball X, which initially I'm gonna make 10, and then ball Y, I'm gonna make it 10 as well, and then the last one is ball size, which I'm gonna make the size of 20. Okay, and then now I'm gonna create another integer variable. This one I'm gonna call it dx, which is short for delta x. It's gonna be 5 initially. Yeah, that's the only variable we're going to create for now. Basically, our ball is going to move only horizontally, and then when it reaches a limit, it's gonna go back to where it started before. Okay, so now let me write the code that's responsible for drawing that ball. Okay, So I'm gonna overwrite the paint component method. Okay, and then now I'm gonna make the color of the ball to be red, and then I'm gonna draw my ball. The location of the ball is ball X, the Y position is ball Y, and then the ball size, Okay, here actually let me make this dx value to 15 so that the ball moves faster. Okay, now we are done drawing our ball. Okay, so now let me run this code and see if everything works perfectly. Okay, now we have our ball here. Now I actually made a mistake. I wasn't trying to draw a rectangle, I was trying to draw an oval here. So let us change that here. Okay, now we have our ball here, right? Okay, now the next thing we're gonna do is implement the code for our animation. Okay, so now in order to animate our ball, we're going to constantly increase this variable, which is ball X, right? Okay, so now the way the ball is gonna move, let me just play this. Okay, the way the ball is gonna move, it's gonna move horizontally like this, and then when it reaches this point, it's gonna reverse again, and then when it reaches this point again, it comes back, and so on, right? So now let's continue. Okay, now when the timer calls our action performed method, we're gonna increase the variable ball X, which is the position of the ball, right? We're gonna add to it. So initially our dx is 15, so this means the position of our ball is gonna increase by 15, right? So now let me do this, increase it by 15, right? And then let me run, and then the next thing I need to do is I need to start my timer, right? So I'm gonna press timer dot start. Okay, now let us run this and see what happens. Okay, now we can see that the ball is not moving at all, right? It's only standing stationary. But now the variable is actually changing in the background. The only problem we're having is that we need to tell this window to update this window according to the new variables that were found or that were updated. So let us get into that and do this. So here on my action performed, I'm simply gonna put repaint. This is gonna tell the system to update the window, right? So now let's continue and see what happens now. You see, we can see that now the ball is moving, right? Okay, now we can see that the ball is moving. About timing, I'm too full now. We don't want it to move until we want it to reverse as soon as it reaches the edge of this corner. So let us create code for that. Okay, now to create code for that, we're gonna go to our action performed method, and then now we're gonna check if the location of the ball as well as the size is actually bigger than or equal to the size of our window. In this case, our window would be 350, which is this value here. Actually, let me create a variable here, call it window width. Okay, now if the size of the ball as well as the location is bigger than the window width, right, we simply need to make our dx variable a negative, right? So if our dx variable was a negative, right, if our dx variable was a positive, it's going to be a negative, and then if it was a negative, it was going to be a positive. This is what this code does here. So now let us run this and see if everything we did is okay. Yeah, we can see that it's working. It's reversing when it reached there. Now we need one more last code. We can see that when it's moving to the left, it's going to continuously move to the left. We need code to know whether the ball has reached the edge of our window, right? So let's do this. We're going to put another if statement here. This time we're going to check if ball x plus the ball size, right? If it is smaller than 0, or rather smaller than or equal to 0, we do the same thing here, right? Okay, let's run this code again, see what happens. Yeah, we can see that it's working now. Okay guys, that's about it when it comes to the basics of animating the ball horizontally. If you actually enjoyed this content, please subscribe and you'll get more tutorials on Java game programming. Thank you.